I'm Randy Unger, and this is another edition of Unger the Radar, where we talk all things film. And I want to welcome two very special guests film critics for today. Erica A., welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And Zach Shevich. I'm so sorry.
Got it.
Oh, I did get it.
Got
Okay.
it.
Well, thanks for being back. I know it's been a few months since you were last on.
Yeah.
How's everything, guys?
It's going well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. We got a new studio. You know, what do you guys think of this right now?
It's got some of the same old vibes, but a new. I think it's a little roomier.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is definitely roomier.
Yes, lovely and roomy.
Yes, lovely cityscape.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
A little more distance between us, but
Yeah, I know. But I still see you. I
yeah,
still
we'll
hear
deal
you.
with it. We'll deal.
Yeah, we'll adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
So we've got two films that we're going to talk about today. They're not blockbusters by any means, but I guess they're like average level.
And they're tolerable for one.
Yeah, they are tolerable. So and I thank you guys for bearing with me in the past for some terrible movies. But we've got a spy thriller starring Jonathan Rhys-Meyers called Damascus Cover, and basically he's a spy. He's in Europe. He doesn't know who to trust. What's happening? The plot's kind of twisty, and it keeps you kind of guessing all throughout. Erica, what did you think of the movie?
Well, first off, I think it wasn't in Europe.
Oh wait, Damascus. Where's that?
Syria.
My
I
mistake.
was sorry. I was like, I just had to say that first.
But I think they filmed it in Europe. It's
Okay.
possible.
I mean, I happen to be a big fan of spy movies. And I thought both your movies were completely textbook, but
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was done well.
Mm-hmm.
It went step by step through the motions, and it did it right.
Yeah.
If you're a fan, you see the plot coming, but if they strayed from the premise, it would have paid the price.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. I will critique him, though. I did find that I was disappointed in him doing the accents. I felt both accents slipped a little at times, and it became a little too British again.
Well, he's Irish, by the way, but it kind of worked.
I was like, UK, he plays... I was like, okay. But I felt he's supposed to be German sometimes, and he's supposed to be Israeli, and the accents were slipping.
Oh wait, wasn't the German a cover?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why he was
But he's
supposed
supposed to be
German.
convincing as a German.
Yeah.
That's the point
I
of it.
kinda
He
like
was
the
supposed
accent.
to seem German sometimes, and then it would just be like, you lost it, shame on you.
The accent kind of wavers, huh?
But
Yeah.
I felt the whole cast, not just him, but the whole cast really flowed through the movie. I cared about the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I was glad that the audio lowered a little as the plot went on, because in the beginning I thought the music was a little loud and it was a little hard to hear the dialogue.
Overbearing, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And I enjoyed the ending. The ending was exactly what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Okay. So Zach, what did you think?
Well, yeah. Sticking with the cast, I think it's also worth noting this was actually John Hurt's last film.
His very
Really?
last film.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he doesn't have a particularly big part in this, but
Right.
he's in it, and for people who like him as an actor, he has a few interesting scenes in this.
Yeah.
I wasn't particularly wowed with the movie, as you mentioned. It's very template boilerplate in its spy movie narrative of twists and turns, of introducing characters who are essentially there. Like if they're introduced as a
Stock
friendly face, they're gonna end up twisting it. If they're introduced
Yeah.
as an enemy, then there might be something a little bit more
Right.
to their story. And it never really went beyond that surface level tension and twists.
Mhm.
I thought there was some interesting elements of the plot, being that this was an Israeli agent working to smuggle Jews out of a area in Syria, and it got into some of the complicated dynamics
Very
of that
complicated.
region.
Cultural aspect.
Yeah, so I think if you're someone who maybe has some background knowledge of that situation, as I do from my family, then there is a little bit of interesting substance there. I don't know how good of a job the film did at communicating it. I don't know if somebody who it wasn't looking for the Israeli-Syrian conflict would be able to parse much from it.
Okay.
But if this sounds like an interesting plot to you, then you'd probably enjoy the
Yeah.
film. Otherwise, I don't know.
I think films like spy thrillers in general, these for the past 5-10 years have been playing to this. Let's throw as many twists as possible to make it
Mhm.
interesting to the viewer. Like, I wish they would just make a straightforward spy
I
movie.
didn't think the movie had that many twists.
No?
Like I said, I thought it was very textbook, very paint by numbers. Everything
I feel it was paint by
happened-
numbers because of all the twists. If it was
And
just
I thought it
straightforward, it'd be more
was-
refreshing.
I thought it was straightforward.
Okay.
Exactly when the next thing was supposed to happen, snap. There we are. We meet this new moment.
Mm-hmm.
It was exactly the way it was supposed to be. It was Spy Game. It was Berlin Station. It was what's that movie? And it's interesting how so many movies now are taking place in this time period.
Yeah.
From
It's
Atomic
like
Blonde,
1985 or 89. It's like
89, 91.
89 because of the Berlin Wall.
Yes, but I'm saying like Atomic Blonde and a few others are all taking place in this concept
Right.
now.
Because it's a very volatile time, so they want to just
And
capitalize
it's
on
long
that.
ago enough that it's now
Yeah.
Yeah.
coming back a little.
I think a lot of the people who were younger when that was when that was happening are now of the age where they can make these films. So
I
we're
feel
seeing
like I was
those.
a toddler then, so
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think of the acting? Jonathan Rhys Meyers, Erica?
well, I've been a fan of him for a while. I can remember him all the way back to like Bang Like Beckham and all the way back to when he was Henry VIII in The Tudors, though he wasn't great in it. He was cute to look at.
He is good looking, I'll give you
And
that.
then there's that fun movie he did with John Travolta, which sort of makes no sense, but it's...
Which one was that?
You know I'm not good with names.
Oh, I know what you're talking. Yeah, the title's escaping me, but yeah, I know them. I think my favorite and the first movie I noticed him in was
Yes.
Match Point.
Okay.
Yeah, he's very good in Match Point.
Woody Allen's Match Point. It's one of the first movies he did like outside of New York City. I think it was filmed in that was in London.
Yeah.
And that started like a whole chain reaction of Woody Allen movies being shot in Europe.
Yeah.
And he was phenomenal in that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he also played Elvis Presley.
Yeah, I remember that being one of the things that brought
Was
him
that-
to my attention.
did you guys
it was
see
a
that?
two-part made-for-TV movie
Yes.
or something. I saw that. I don't know why.
I mean, I could see that.
I
He
didn't
looks
want
like
to see it. I was sort of staring at it. I was like, I'm
That's-
not sure I want to go there.
Yeah. I could see Miles Teller playing Elvis.
Potentially, yeah.
That could work.
Yeah.
But, so guys, are you fans of the spy film genre, Erica?
I am.
Yeah.
I
And I'm also
thought-
I'm lumping in there the James Bond series as well.
No.
Oh,
James
okay.
Bond or
No?
action movies, they go with Bruce Willis movies.
Okay.
Or Stallone
Or cartoon superhero
or-
movies.
Vin Diesel or something. That's
Yeah.
where I lump James Bond movies.
Okay. Zach, are you a big spy thriller guy?
I mean, I'm into some. I think that there are plenty that like this movie get a little bit lost in their own conventions, and
Alright, yeah.
I prefer something that's a little bit more of a clean plot and has a little bit, I don't know, more to it than this. So I mean, there's films that involve spies, like The Lives of Others or whatever, that I think are great, but aside from the James Bonds and Jason Bournes, I don't know if there are a lot of films that have spies in them that I enjoy.
Right. So that's why you got to go back to the 80s, like Spies Like Us, the John Landis
How
comedy.
about If Looks Could Kill?
If Looks Could Kill. I didn't see that.
It's naming an 80s movie that's sort of
Oh,
a spy.
okay. What about Real Men? This is a very obscure one.
I've seen it.
John Ritter, John Belushi, no, not James Belushi, and they basically Belushi, Jim, sorry, he plays a spy who basically has to enlist John Ritter, who plays this like suburban average Joe, who actually has a lookalike who gets killed in the field. So basically, Jim Belushi has to enlist him and bring him into this weird, complicated spy adventure, and it's very quirky, very weird, very 80s.
Very 80s with almost an The Spy Who Knew Too Little type feel.
Oh my God, Bill Murray.
Yes.
Did you see that one? Zach?
Yeah, that one I've seen.
That was a fun one.
Yeah.
I love these obscure references. This is what I live on. So, guys, last thoughts on Damascus Cover, Zach?
I mean, to me, it's not a real success. I it's a competent film, and I think I can't really recommend it to people who aren't already interested in it. But if there's enough there from the presence of Jonathan Rhys Meyers or Olivia Thirlby, who we don't believe mentioned yet.
Yes,
Right,
Oh
right.
my God, we didn't mention her.
From she was in
Juno is
Yes.
when I first
Yeah,
got it.
she
But
was
she's been in
so
a bunch since then.
offbeat and funny in that,
Mhm.
and it was kind of weird seeing her in this type of movie.
But I thought she was
It
good
was
in this.
sweet.
She
It was-
pulled it off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I wish there was more of her in the movie.
Yeah.
Actually.
Agreed.
Wasn't
Well,
enough.
these genre of movies never give the female the same chance sometimes.
Well,
Unless it is like Black Sparrow. Where
or
it's-
Atomic Blonde.
Yes.
That's good. That's another discussion for another time, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So.
you didn't ask if I say you should see it.
Oh, do you think people should see it?
Yes. I say definitely if you're into it. If you were a fan of Red Sparrow or of
Mm-hmm.
the movie with Brad Pitt and
Spy Game.
yes, Spy Game.
Spy Game.
Robert Redford.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
thank you, Robert Redford.
Right. That
Or
was
just spy movies
2001.
in general. It follows the mold. You won't be disappointed, and at the end, you'll go, "That makes sense."
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. So.
And it has a happy romance too, sorta.
Sort of.
It has a correct romance for its genre.
It's got a romantic element that isn't fully explored, unfortunately.
Well, it's not supposed to.
That's true. Very good. All right. So moving on to the next movie, we've got The Fifth Passenger, and it's a sci-fi adventure, kind of low budget, kind of cheesy. Basically, it's about a group of 5 explorers, astronauts, who have to basically save their skins by boarding an escape pod, which only has enough oxygen for 4 people, and you've got 5 people there. So, hence the dilemma of The Fifth Passenger. Erica, what'd you think?
I thought it was also very formulaed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not a fan of the space odyssey, alien,
Mm-hmm.
unknown.
Yeah.
No one hears you scream.
Yeah, it borrows a lot from Alien and a little bit from Star Trek.
I also
and-
felt a little bit from the Josh Whedon,
Oh, Serenity,
yes,
Firefly.
Firefly series. I also felt it had a little bit of that, and
Mhm.
also a little bit of the CW show The 100.
I haven't seen that one.
Well, it's on for multiple years.
Do you recommend it? Is it better than this?
No.
Okay.
It is better if you're younger. For our age group, it's geared to the 100's geared to a younger audience.
Gotcha. All right. Cool. Zach, thoughts on The Fifth Passenger?
Yeah, I mean, I did not enjoy this one at all. It was very amateurly made.
Mm.
I think, there's clearly not people who know nothing about filmmaking
Mhm.
involved in it.
Yeah.
In that there are some aspects of the production that are like, I don't know how to do that myself.
I
I-
actually thought the lighting was good.
Yeah, the lighting was fine. But
The sets were okay.
some of the sets were okay, and then a
Yeah.
lot of them were like poorly green screened. But that's a whole
Right,
other,
and
whole
the
other
vi-
thing.
Yeah.
It's just, I think this was an example of somebody who had a large vision and not the capital to back up that vision,
Right.
and you see all the gaps in between where your ambition is and where this film's production was,
Yeah.
and they end up making it kind of a slog to get through. I have trouble really commending a whole lot about it.
I like the performances, to be honest.
Really?
The main, they weren't great, but they made it kind of watchable.
I found them mostly awful.
Yeah, mostly.
I think that's what made it so amusing. They
I
were
mean, yeah.
awfully...
This did have a B movie, watch how bad it was
Yeah.
quality to it, and I think the at least in my mind, I think the performances were almost uniformly poor, and I don't blame it on the actors who I looked up on IMDb have several other credits, including Doug Jones, who was in The Shape of Water.
Yeah.
I blame it mostly on the script and the direction, which
Yeah.
the one of the co-screenwriters is also the director, and it just was a very clunky script that forced some unnatural reactions, and I just imagine being an actor with that dialogue would be difficult.
I think the main actress, the non-citizen,
Mhm.
Morgan Lariah,
Mhm.
if she had, like you said, if she had a great script, I think she could do very, very well.
Yeah, she was one of the co-writers on it, so I mean,
Right.
Damn.
Yeah.
She wrote herself to be exactly who she wanted to be.
That's
and
disappointing.
it still didn't really turn out.
Yeah.
And then the
But we
movie.
don't know what happened on the editing floor.
I don't imagine there's a whole lot that
I could not.
would salvage this.
Yeah. That's funny. The editing was okay. I mean, it was better than the script, that's for sure.
Yeah, there were some moments, the big action moments, and again, I think this is a result of its budget, weren't very clear, and they did some cutting around to kind of show you to try and hint at what's happening, but I just
Well-
didn't find it very cohesive.
I actually thought the hinting was better if they had tried to create more of a monster would have looked more like a puppet or something.
It was ridiculous, and it made these stupid
It
sound
was.
effects that were. I think if they left out the whole alien creature,
Which they introduced fairly late.
right? I think if they kept
It
it
was
as
the
a,
great plot twist.
as a purely like psychological like
Okay.
mind bender, like leave out the alien creature. They just threw that in. Like, come on.
Yeah.
If it was a psychological thriller just about the characters,
But they had to throw something in because they were building
didn't
up a
have to.
psychological thing. We had.
they didn't
otherwise-
need that at all.
Well, I mean, I think it was an attempt at sort of incorporating a psychological element, and it just doesn't really
Manifesting itself into a physical form.
Yeah,
Right.
it doesn't really cohere.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense or make much of a statement. By the
Right.
end, you feel the film reaching for a lot,
Right.
especially with the whole motherhood aspect that it brings into the end, and it just
Right.
doesn't really say anything.
They really, yeah, and the mother, they could have explored the pregnancy a little bit more. They just threw in as many sci-fi tropes as
Mhm.
possible.
Yeah.
This guy's
See who's
seen
gonna
a
like
lot
it.
of Star Trek.
It was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
how much sci-fi, every little aspect of sci-fi. Let's just throw it in
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Let's do this. We have the computer. We have the monster. We have the lost in space aspect.
Yeah.
We have the random other things, the berserkers or whatever we're gonna
Mhm.
thing that might be coming, and then
Yeah. I mean, it kind of even reminded me of the latest Cloverfield film. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
I did.
The,
Paradox?
The Clover Paradox. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that was so much better than this, and it felt so similar. You know?
Yeah. I wasn't even a fan of Paradox.
You
and
weren't
I,
even.
I
Wow.
would agree that it
Okay.
was better than this
Significantly.
Yeah.
Yes. Erica, did you see the latest Cloverfield?
no.
Okay. It's on Netflix. I think it's still on Netflix.
It's a similar thing in which the passengers on a spaceship find themselves sort of trapped and attempting to figure out something that's
Right.
beyond their capabilities. I think.
fighting for their lives, fighting
Yeah.
each other in the
Yes.
process.
Yeah, except I
Well,
think
that's
maybe
why
Paradox
I
has a
compared
point.
it to the 100
Yeah.
because the 100's constantly about fighting for having enough resources, fighting for enough food, fighting to find enough shelter.
Okay. And that's a futuristic series? Like-
It's more of a if you were in the future and you crashed back to Earth and you have to now live like cave people.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So, final thoughts on The Fifth Passenger, Erica?
Hated the first hour and somewhat minutes, but I enjoyed the last half hours.
That's a glowing review.
It has a great last half hour. Ignore the rest of it. Even though there's like a lot of movie to it and it's supposed to seem relevant.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
No, skip it. Okay. Zach?
I can only recommend it on So Bad It's Good grounds.
Yeah. I mean, like, guys, there's so many movies that we review on this show. This will be on Netflix. This is a late night. You have nothing else to watch. Just press play on this one.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
not.
Or not.
Not.
And
or
you know,
don't let it even go near your radar.
Yeah.
and you know what? I actually wanted to. You touched on it a bit, but Doug Jones, he is in this,
Briefly.
and you've got at least two other Star Trek alum in the
Mhm.
movie.
Mm-hmm.
Marina Sirtis, who's in The Next Generation, and you've
She was
got
the doctor person, right?
she
Or-
was no, that's the telepath,
Okay.
Deanna Troy. You remember the dark-haired girl?
Yes. Okay.
Yes, she the love interest with Commander Riker. Okay, am I the only Trekkie here? Okay.
Yeah. I believe this
True.
movie was largely funded through an Indiegogo campaign that marketed off the fact that they had some Star Trek actors
Right.
attached.
And also Armin Shimmeron, who was in Deep Space Nine.
There you go.
Yes.
So you got at least three that I know of
Yeah.
in the movie.
So if you're a big sci-fi fan, there's going to be some faces you recognize, and maybe that does make it worth your while. But it is definitely so
Or you
bad
can
it's
just
good.
mute it.
and they're in like 3-minute scenes each. Like,
Yeah.
they're like barely.
They're not the stars of this
They're
thing.
yeah. They're just there to sell the thing.
Yep.
It's unfortunate, but it's true.
Or to bring producers on.
Yeah. So all right, Erica, what have you seen lately, or what are you looking forward to seeing?
Actually, I was so interested in the fact that you skipped over so many amazing things. This week alone, we have the Denzel Washington
Equalizer
movie.
2?
Yes.
I still have to rewatch the first one. It's been a few
And
years.
Mamma Mia too.
Mom, I didn't see the first Mamma Mia.
Well, shame on you. You have to stare at it. It's
I'm
like
not
a
a-
train wreck. You have James Bond, Mr. Darcy, the great villain, and Meryl Streep jumping up and down, singing songs.
I
and
love
it's like-
Pierce. Pierce is great.
and it's like, what are they doing here?
Why are
I
they?
can't look away. They're singing.
Zach, are you a Mamma Mia fan?
No, not at all.
Cheers
I've
to
never really
Okay.
enjoyed the stylings of ABBA, so I stay
They've
And
got
I
some
clear.
find-
good hits. They've
And
got.
I find that ABBA recorded new music just for 2, and they added Cher.
That's pretty cool. And,
And
that's
it's like-
that's the selling point. Share,
and
right?
it's like, well, I think it's the whole cast is back
Uh-huh.
to be really terrifyingly there. What are they doing there? They have Academy Awards, and none of them are musical actors.
And you've got I forget her name, but she's the one.
Amanda.
Seyfried?
See, not her, but
Lily James.
yes,
Yeah.
who was awesome in the live action Cinderella. I don't know if
Okay.
you guys saw that a couple years ago.
Yes.
It was like one of the first live action Disney movies in this like rebirth.
Yeah.
Oh, middle.
Yeah. I loved it. You guys should check it out. Not as I mean, yeah, Beauty and the Beast was lackluster, unfortunately.
I'll agree with that.
But,
yeah,
Emily
Cinderella
Watson.
didn't disappoint quite as much.
Yeah, Emily Watson though, she did her best. She's a decent
But
actress.
it didn't live up to the fact of what it could be for live action. But we're digressing now.
Yeah. Zach, what are you looking forward to, or what have you seen?
I'm actually lucky enough that I think I've seen 3 of my favorite films of 2017 in the past 7 to 10 days.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. One of them was Sorry to Bother You. It's really interesting.
Yes.
Comedy of sorts.
Everyone
Gets into
should see this.
Sci-fi elements. It's a
Everyone.
mind bender of sort. It kind of takes place in a fictional alternate reality.
Sort of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where it's very an increasingly corporatized and capital.
Climbing the corporate ladder.
Yeah,
This is-
capital-driven America.
Yeah.
Sort of this movie gives it a bit of a weird perspective. It takes on a bit of a racial perspective too.
Right. It
coming
covers a lot of areas.
it covers a lot. It's hard to describe in how far-reaching the
I'd
movie
I
is.
call
think you're doing a good job describing it.
Yeah, I mean, it,
I know of.
Yeah.
yeah. It's a satirical comedy that
Sci-fi
looks
comedy.
Yeah.
a satirical sci-fi comedy that looks at society and makes a very strong case for unions.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that sounds interesting to you.
And throw in some weird creatures.
Yes, yes.
Which I'm not gonna spoil.
No,
But and
no
also
spoilers.
some awesome actors. I think
Yeah.
Lakeith Stanfield is
Oh my God.
one of our great indie actors on the come up right now. He's really great on Atlanta. Tessa Thompson plays his girlfriend in the film. Terry Crews is a small part.
Right.
Armie
Armie Hammer.
Fowler plays a small part. Armie Hammer's in it.
Yeah.
Steve Young.
Danny Glover.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a lot of great actors in that.
I would have
And,
to agree, Zach. It's definitely on my top 3 right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's awesome.
And aside from that one, I also saw 8th Grade in theaters.
Oh, you saw that?
recently.
Oh,
Yeah, and that is delightful.
it's getting, it
Absolutely
has so much
delightful.
buzz around it right now.
Yeah, written and
Nice.
directed by Bo Burnham about a 8th grade girl awkwardly going through her last week of middle school. For me, as someone who didn't necessarily feel as secure growing up, dealt with the anxieties of adolescence.
Okay.
This is one of the movies that I really felt depicts the awkwardness and insecurity of adolescence in a real accurate way that gives you those feelings again. There's scenes that I was hoping would just end sooner, not because I thought they were bad, because
Right.
they felt so true.
Would you compare this to be like the modern day Kids?
Well, in a sense, but I don't think it's the same aim as Kids. Whereas
Okay.
Kids is a more of a shocking factor. It's showing a little bit more of the illicit activities. This is trying to be much more of your standard everyday 8th grader story. This is gonna. Whereas I don't know a lot of people who relate to Kids.
Okay.
I think just about anybody could relate to 8th grade.
Yes.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. Well, that's the movie to see. That and Sorry to Bother You. And yeah, guys, Erica, do you have anything you want to plug?
Oh no, not right now.
Not right now. Okay, maybe in the future. Zach.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing my weekly podcast, Intercut, at youtube.com/intercutpod. We can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those social medias. It's the same tag, IntercutPod, and we're on iTunes as well. So yeah, we're doing the latest entertainment news and reviews and all that sort of stuff every week.
Cool. Oh, and guys, I wanted to just mention real briefly before we get into our interview segment. I just saw "Won't You Be My Neighbor" a couple days ago. The documentary that follows the life and times of beloved Fred Rogers. And I just wanted to quickly, you guys, did you see
Mr. Rogers?
Mr.
Everyone
Rogers? Yeah,
who
not
doesn't
Fred.
realize.
Mr. You guys grew up with Mr. Rogers, right?
Yes.
Okay. Zach, Did you grow up, Mr.
I
Rogers?
actually didn't. I actually
didn't.
Yeah. I for whatever reason was not on in my household.
Okay.
Everything I've seen since makes him seem like a delightful man, and
Yeah.
I've heard great things about the documentary.
And
so.
even if you didn't see him, if you didn't grow up with him,
Yeah.
it's still a beautiful film, and it highlights the greatness of this
And
guy.
even if you're a child now and you're watching the spin-off series Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, I think it's called.
Oh yeah, I haven't gotten into that.
It's something that you can enjoy for the whole family. I'd say.
Okay.
It's something just to share with the children who
Yeah.
relate to it in a totally different way now.
Nice. Okay. Well, that's Won't You Be My Neighbor. It's out now. It's awesome. And I don't normally review documentaries, but it's definitely on my radar. Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for today. This has been amazing. You guys are welcome back anytime.
Thanks.
So, yeah.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, it's cool. So, guys, right now I'm going to broadcast an interview I did over a week ago with film composer Steve Jablonsky. He's actually responsible for the Transformers film series, as well as being a student of Hans Zimmer. He's got that real masculine, real tough guy action sound. And yeah, here's an interview I did with him for his new film Skyscraper. Here's that interview.
So I just want to thank you so much for taking the time today.
Cool, guys.
I saw the film. I saw Skyscraper the other night. It was really cool, really interesting. Yeah. I just wanted to ask, what is it about the action genre that attracts you so?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I've loved action films ever since I was a kid. I've watched them. I was a movie nut, my friends and I, every weekend. We're right in the theater seeing the latest action movie. But I don't know if it's me loving it or it loving me, because that seems to be generally what comes across my desk.
All right.
But I don't ever complain. I love the genre and I love doing these films. But I think it goes, or it applies to anyone in this particular business. Probably a lot of other businesses as well. But in this one, if early in your career you do a certain thing and people think you do it well, then you get asked to do that thing again, and then 3 more people ask you to do it, and every time, I'm excited to do it, and it just kind of snowballed into I get asked to do a lot of these action movies. Because there's a director like Ross and Thurber, who I've never worked with, all he has to go by is what I've done in the past, and he sees this body of action music that I guess he liked enough to ask me to do this film, and so that's sort of how it just sort of feeds itself. I keep doing these action movies and keep getting asked to do them, but I do love it. I won't lie. I do love doing it. So it's a mutual love relationship, I guess.
Right. And so you started with Familiar Sense of Snow back in '97. How did you link up with Hans Zimmer?
Well, I'll just give you the short version. I went to college up in UC Berkeley, initially for a degree in computer engineering, and after a year, I just realized I couldn't do that. I was bored out of my mind, and switched to a music major because I'd always been interested in music, and I kind of thought maybe I would be a recording engineer. I had some technical knowledge and musical knowledge, and when I got back to LA, I did some I grew up in LA, so I came back to school, doing small jobs here and there, and Hans Zimmer had been for years one of my favorite film composers, me being a movie nut, as I mentioned before. I love movie scores as well, and loved Hans Zimmer, so I just said, I wonder if he's got a studio somewhere around here. I think he does. And I just looked in the book of studios, and it was
Media Ventures.
Right there. Yeah, exactly. Media Ventures. I called, and right now he has an empire in Santa Monica, basically, like a full city block. I think he owns. But back then there was just a couple of small buildings, and it was 1996, I think. And I called asking if they needed an intern or anything like that, and they said, "Yeah, come on down."
Nice.
And so I did that for a few months, and I just never left. I loved it so much. I watched every session they would let me watch, and I tried not to bother people, but just tried to help as much as I could. And I hooked up first actually with a composer named Harry Gregson Williams, who was another fantastic composer.
Oh yeah.
He just moved to Hans's studio from London to work out of there, and I helped him set up his studio and became his assistant. He offered me the job, and I said, yeah. And that was actually his film, and him and Hans both worked on that. And that film, Smell a Scent of Snow, was one of the first films, or maybe it was the first film that I wrote music for. I just wrote a couple small cues to help out, and it was a huge opportunity for me. And then that sort of snowballs. Harry, he likes what I do and asks me to do more cues on the next movie. Hans asks me to do cues on his movie, and it's just that's sort of how it all developed. It's all a blur. I'm not even quite sure.
Well, and so you're considered one of Hans Zimmer's disciples. It's you, it's Trevor Rabin, John Powell, Harry Gregson Williams, Rupert Gregson Williams. You've got all these fantastic talents.
Yeah.
What was it like working with such an enormous group of guys?
I mean, as far as I know, there is no place on earth like what Hans has created. Such a great creative place. There's nothing. I could go to school for 20 years, take film scoring classes for 20 years, and not learn, 1/10 of what I learned there. Just watching guys like Hans and John Powell, deal with top film directors and producers, and just to see how they operate and communicate, because it's such a big part of this job. It's like half the job, as far as I'm concerned, is communicating and figuring out what people want, and if they don't like what you do, figuring out why and how to fix it. But also, of course, there's all such generous people, John and Harry and Hans. They would let me sort of watch them, and just you pick up little things, little techniques, and orchestration techniques, and try to absorb everything you can. But yeah, it's an amazing place. I go there now, and it's just so big. I don't know anybody that's there, so I hope I know it's still an amazing place. But it's just that it's so big now. I hope I'll still get the chance to kind of.
And now it's called Remote Control Productions, I think, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Cool. So I've actually been following your career for quite some time. I remember the Pearl Harbor had a trailer. I think it was Trailblazing. I think you wrote that.
Yeah, I did.
And that track, I don't want to say it changed my life, but it was pretty. It made me aware of your talent, and ever since then I've been following you. Yeah, so it's such a phenomenal. Yeah, that sound is really, and it transfers over into Transformers, D-War, even movies like Your Highness, which didn't get a lot of attention, but the music was amazing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, I mean, what is it like? You have such a unique sound. What is it like having that reputation?
Well, I mean, I don't even know what to say to comments like that. It makes me like it's all worth it. All the crazy hours I spent in a dark room, it's all worth it. I still remember writing that Trailblazing even years ago, because I was working with Hans on Pearl Harbor, and this trailer came in, and he asked me to work on it because he didn't have time. So I wrote that piece, and I remember he came in one evening, and I played it to him. And it finished. I hit stop, and he just looked at me, and he's like, "Wow." Just kind of like deadpan. Wow. Because I hadn't really demonstrated that sort of thing to him before, and I was, like just a kid and trying to please the teacher here, and it was a big moment. So I remember that very vividly, and it sort of gave me some confidence to just continue doing whatever that is. I just continue doing it and trying to develop it.
So would you say that track was like your audition into the world of epic heroic film scoring?
I may be. Yeah, that's the very first thing I helped Hans with was there are a number of things, but that Pearl Harbor and that track was that was the first sort of big actiony, epic sounding thing that I helped him with.
And now, sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
No, you guys. So yeah, the whole remote control production, guys. You always, collaboration is obviously very important to you guys. And I know you've worked with Hans and Harry. Have you ever worked with John Powell?
I did have the good fortune to work with him on. There were a couple of DreamWorks animations that Harry and John did together.
Right, Shrek and Ants and Chicken Run.
Yeah, exactly. But by the time Shrek came around, I was just transitioning out into my own studio. But I wasn't too involved in that one. But the other two, I was very involved in Ants and Chicken Run. And he's just such a great guy and so talented. To work with Harry and John on one project and got to watch them. And they're just both fun guys. So it's like, for Chicken Run, we spent, I don't know how many months in Bristol, England. We sort of built a studio out there. And so it was just a great experience all around, great learning experience. And now
a particular favorite cue of mine is building the crate. Did you have a hand in that cue?
I honestly cannot remember. I have to listen to. I remember the scene. It's been a while.
Because it's very epic sounding.
Yeah, I do. I did work a lot on various cues. I honestly, I'd have to go back and listen to it to remind myself. But I don't want to say yes, and I didn't actually. But
okay,
it's a good chance that I did. But
And let me see. Yeah, D-War, also a movie that really wasn't really an American. It was unattracted by American audiences, but the track, a movie, also a huge standout in my opinion. What was it like working on that film?
That was a great experience. It was interesting because the director did not speak any English, so we had sort of a music producer who came over from Korea, and it was translating, but they wanted kind of a big Hollywood epic sound for this film, and it was interesting to work with a different culture, I should say. It was really fascinating. Like there was at one point where we were sitting in the mix room mixing a cue, and the director or producer, I think, were there, and he liked this particular cue, and we were mixing the orchestra, and it was sounding really good to him. And he pulled out like $100 bill, and kind of tipped my engineer, which is very strange to us, but it's not. It was not at all to him, and we weren't offended or anything. It was just very kind. He was just trying to say, "This is amazing. I'm so happy."
Right.
And that was like, wow, what's going on? And somebody had to pull me aside and say, this is normal, and this is a good thing. And so it was just little things like that. And unfortunately, I forget why I couldn't. They said you have to come out to Korea and for the premiere, and we'll show you around. And I really wanted to go, but scheduling, I couldn't make it. But it was a great experience. It was really good people.
Nice. And now you've done animation, you've done Steam Boy, but since then not so much. Do you plan on doing any animated projects in the near future?
I would like to, sure. I don't. I had a great time on Steam Boy for sure. That was a Japanese director who was legendary director of Akira, and he's I don't know that he's. I'd love to work with him again, but I think one of the producers said it's unfortunate that he takes 15 years to make a film, because you don't get much from him. But Yeah, if an animation came my way, I'd be happy to do it. I was joking the other day with some friends that every movie I do is very inappropriate for my kids to watch. And maybe someday I'll actually get to do a film that they can watch.
Right.
So yeah, I'd be up for that.
Because I think you'd be great. Because I mean, it seems like John Powell and Hans seem to be dominating that arena. I'd love to hear what you have to contribute to that, that realm.
Yeah, I might someday. I did work with Hans quite a bit on Spirit, the DreamWorks film from a while ago. I wrote quite a bit of that. That was a lot of fun.
Run Free, that was a great track.
Yeah, that's not a great track. Working with Bryan Adams was like, the guy is, for a legendary rock star, the guy is the nicest.
Nice.
Person.
So who are some of your influences?
Well, it's going to be pretty obvious, but there's
right.
a guy named John Williams, who you probably heard of. Yeah, I 7 or 8, or whenever my parents bought me the Star Wars vinyl, I remember, there's pictures of me with it, I think. I really love just holding it and looking at it, and John Williams was the first composer that I remember making me aware that movies had music. You don't even, at that age, you're not even thinking about the score and whatever, and it's just, but this music was so powerful and memorable and all this thing. What is it? I need to listen to this, and that led me to guys like Bernard Herrmann. As I grew older, I wasn't listening to Bernard Herrmann when I was 7, but as I got older, Bernard Herrmann and Morricone might be my favorite all time, and
nice.
And then after that, Hans Zimmer. But those 4, I think, are legends.
How about the late great Jerry Goldsmith?
Yes, Jerry Goldsmith. I've listened to more hours than I care to admit. And
admit it. It's fine.
It's all good. He's talk about unique. He had a very unique take on so many different scores. His Star Trek
genres,
yeah, genres, yeah. His Star Trek score is still one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Big Hollywood themes. I just thought he captured that perfectly.
And I actually prefer the Star Trek theme over the Star Wars theme, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I don't know if I should say that out loud, but it's definitely one of my favorite themes ever written.
Yeah.
And of John Williams' themes, I think I would probably pick a different. I love Star Wars, but I'd probably pick something else. But
have you ever heard the Patriots score, the Mel Gibson movie?
Yep. Another
great
fantastic. Score. Yeah. No, these guys. I regret that I never got to meet Jerry Goldsmith. I hear he's a fantastic human being, and gave us.
I can imagine. Yeah, tough. I think it was 2004 he passed away. He just left behind a huge legacy and just really great talent.
Yeah, very unique sound and great talent. I mean, the Gremlins theme I still occasionally. It's just so fun.
Yeah.
It makes you smile.
And he even ups it a notch in Gremlins 2, the new batch.
Yes. No, he was fantastic. Always doing something different, which was really cool.
Yeah. So, are there any filmmakers that you haven't worked with that you'd want to in the future?
Oh, wow. That's a good question.
Thank you.
I mean, there's a ton of filmmakers I'm a fan of, but I always am anxious to see what Wes Anderson is up to.
Oh, yeah.
He likes this other guy named Alexander something.
And Mark Mothersbaugh.
Oh, has he worked with? Yeah. Oh, Mark is he's another favorite of mine. I loved Devo growing up, and then to hear how he transitioned to film scoring.
The Rushmore score is great.
Yes, but so film, that's my kind of film where I kind of the indie, the quiet, because I work on such loud, big films. I like to, in my downtime, watch quieter, simpler films. But I honestly, I love working with any new filmmaker. I've had in the last week, I've had a couple meetings with directors that I might work with in the rest latter part of the year that I've never worked with, and to me that's one of the most exciting things, just a new relationship, figure out what they like, what they don't like, what they mean when they say such this and that.
So you just go back and watch their films so you're prepared for the meeting?
Sometimes I do. Usually it's based on a script or generally they've sent me a script to read, and then I will get on the phone and I'll tell them what I think, what direction I think we could go in, and if they like the direction. That's what happened with Rawson. I believe he was speaking to several composers, and I told him what I thought, and I think he liked it. He must have, because he hired me. But if he liked the direction I thought we could go in.
Yeah, that epic Transformer theme that seems to be the popular trend nowadays.
Yeah, I have. It is. That's it's very cool. I think. I remember when the score came out, or when the film first came out, people were for the next year sending me clips of things. They go, "What is this? This sounds exactly like Transformers." And I'm like, it's not my place to be raising.
No, it works. I felt very flattered by it. And you know what? I think your Ninja Turtles cue, the theme, Scroll Formation, that really it takes the Transformers feel, but kind of adds sort of like a cartoony feel to it. And it was like a nice variation on the theme.
Oh,
and
cool.
it was a lot of fun.
Thanks. I enjoyed that film in particular because it was like Transformers, but far less serious.
Right.
Like the world wasn't, the world is in danger, but these guys are just still cracking jokes the whole time. So it allowed me to be a little bit lighter with the music than the Transformers, which tended to be a little bit more serious overall.
Right. That's why I think you need to get into animation. I think you'd really do very well.
Yeah. If it happens, you're right. There are a handful of composers who nail it every time, so that they just keep doing like Giacchino as well. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Those bases are covered. But if someone comes to me, I'll be happy to give it a shot.
Nice. Curious. Do you have a relationship with Danny Elfman at all?
I don't believe I've met him. I love his music and have for years. I don't. I've met him. I may have met him at an event or something, but no, I don't really know him that well at all. No.
Yeah, because like Jerry Goldsmith, he's also very diverse, and his styles kind of change from film to film. So in a way, you guys kind of remind me of each other. But
thanks. You mean the fact that she changes kind of from film to film, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess you're a little more consistent with your thematic work, but I just can't stress enough. I'd like to see you branch off a little more outside of the dark action arena.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm open to try anything. I'll do a romantic comedy if someone wants to throw one at me. And those, I'm jealous of my friends who do those because they tell me about having to write 25 to 30 minutes of score for this or that film, and I'm sitting here with my 100 minutes music to write in the next 2 months, and I'm joking. But the movies I do tend to be wall to wall.
No, John Powell did a very quirky but fun score for Gigli back in '03.
Oh yeah.
And if he could do it, I'm sure you can too. And I'd love to hear that. That kind of style. It'd be fun.
I did score the show Desperate Housewives for.
Right. And Danny Elfman wrote the scene to that. That's interesting.
Yeah, he did. And unfortunately, I didn't ever really connect with him on that. But I had a lot of fun doing that, and it's funny. My agents would tell me while that show was on, they would say, "We keep getting calls asking for composers who can do the Desperate Housewives sound." I'm like, do you give them my name, or how about me?
Oh my god.
But,
So yeah, like the Q supermarket, I think it was on. I think it was on one of the like an album release of the show's score. But it was just it was so quiet and so beautiful. It's like haunting.
oh wow, you do do your homework. I
I'm a
didn't know
fan.
that was available. I appreciate it. Thanks. I didn't know that stuff was available. I know exactly the episode you're talking about. That was like a hostage situation.
Yeah. One of the I just have audio of it, but one of the characters was like, just don't think of me or remember me. Or it was
Right.
it was like a really, really emotional moment, and the music just really hit it home.
Oh,
So,
thanks.
yeah.
I love that show because you have 1 minute you have goofy slapstick comedy, and then somebody's dying, and then you have sadness, and it was all over the place, which was fun for me.
Nice. And I think they filmed it on the same set. So that's that cul-de-sac from The Burbs. So Jerry
from The Burbs.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I could say I have that in relation with.
Indeed. Yes.
Connection.
Nice. So the score for Skyscraper. What do you hope audiences take away from the music, the film? What do you hope audiences just walk away remembering?
Well, the first thing Ross had said to me was, this is not a superhero movie. It's coming out in a summer where I think 9 out of 10 films are either a sequel or a superhero movie or both.
Right.
He says, our movie is different. This is, even though it's Dwayne Johnson, who is 285-pound guy who looks like no other human, he's in the film, he's a father. All he really is trying to do is save his kids and his wife, and it's not about him doing superhero feats. It's more about him just doing whatever it takes to get his family back. So that's why I chose to write a theme for him and his family that's sort of the antithesis of what you might think of as a heroic theme. And I don't know if maybe some fans are going to be annoyed by it and wish I had done something bigger, but I wrote a simple guitar theme because it's just a simple family trying to, trying to get out of this horrible situation. So no big French horns.
Yeah.
It's always played on a guitar, and until the end, I played on strings at the end when they get back together. I thought, we'll give the audience what they want there, but up until then, it's just I try to keep things simple, and I hope that it works for people and they hear the theme and it resonates, that resonates why I did it, what I did.
And I'm curious now, your creative process, just quickly, what is it like? Like, is there a lot of writing down notes, going back, listening to what you've recorded, editing that? Like, what is your process like?
Generally, when I start, I'll speak to the director, obviously, and if a lot of times there isn't a movie to look at yet because it's still being shot or whatever hasn't been edited. So I'll speak to the director and try to get as much information as I can from him or her, and look at anything they want to show me. I just absorb everything I can because it's at the end of the day I'm just there to help tell the story. It's not like a showcase for my score, so I want to make sure I understand what they want, what emotions they want. And in this case, Rawson, he made the point early on that this is the family. This is about family. It's not It's not a action movie to him. It's a family thriller. So I thought, all right, let me try this simple guitar theme approach. And I just sit down and start messing around with. I didn't immediately think guitar, but I just started messing around with theme ideas, and guitar felt right. It felt sort of everyman kind of instrument, so yeah, I'll just sit down and start messing around. I won't write anything to picture. generally speaking, to begin with. I just like to write music that I can play to the director. And some directors, I think Ross, in the first meeting we had, he said, okay, so what scene is this for? And I said, it's actually not for any scene. I'm going to turn the TV off, and we're just going to listen. He's like, oh, is that great? Okay, cool. He didn't seem to, I don't know that he'd worked that way before. I'd rather write pieces of music that directors can take with them, listen to in their car, and just get to know it. And then once they feel that it's right, then we can start putting it to the picture and trying it to scenes. But
cool.
That's generally how I work.
Speaking of putting stuff to picture, I know I geeked out a little bit today, but I'm going to geek out a little bit more. I actually have thought about taking some of your cues and placing them to like Barack Obama's speeches.
Oh, wow.
You know? Yeah, because I don't know, the two they're like synonymous, you know, because they just and I can't get enough of your heroic sound. And when you put it with, the words of a great speaker, it could really, be great. So, yeah, I've thought about that in the past. I'm not going to lie. but yeah, I've thought about how, just take great speeches from history and just put your music as a backdrop. And I don't know, it's just a weird little thing, and it just it works. But it's like. Like with trailers, your music is just perfect for trailers, and you could just make a career out just doing that, I think.
Maybe. It's funny. Early when I started on the Transformers franchise, I guess Michael Bay told me one day, he's like, "Look, I'm sorry, this is money out of your pocket, but I will not allow any of our music to be used in trailers or TV or anything, because apparently Paramount was getting, they were getting a lot of calls to license the music to be used in other things, but Michael didn't want to dilute or to water down our music and have it be shown over, whatever, a car ad or something, I don't know. And I fully respected that. I said, look, I agree, let's just keep it in our film and in our films. And so that was, because otherwise I think, but that's why I started to hear a lot of knockoffs appearing in trailers.
Okay.
It was clearly the Transformers music, but a few notes changed.
Couldn't Michael just use music from The Rock or Armageddon?
Maybe. I'm not sure what the deals were for those, but it was Transformers was such a big thing at that time, and he said, "Yeah, I just don't want it to be overused." And I said, "No, I agree. He said licensing. We didn't get the licensing money that we might have, but whatever. It's more the integrity. There's a bit more important to keep it special for everyone."
All right. Well, yeah. I want to thank you so much for your time today, Steve. This has been incredible. And yeah, Skyscraper, it's in theaters now. It's a fun ride. You got Dwayne Johnson there, and you got Steve's beautiful score as always.
Dwayne was a very nice guy. He's very genuine. He told me he liked the score, and I said thank you, big fan.
And you actually worked with him on Pain and Gain, right?
Yeah. I thought he was fantastic in that, and I think that film kind of opened people's eyes that, hey, he can play kind of a more vulnerable, different kind of guy. He doesn't always have to be a big, tough guy. He was.
Yeah. It's cool. Well, I hope you score the next Wes Anderson film. I think that'd be amazing.
I'm going to call him. Do you have a number? I'm going to call him.
No, I don't. Talk to Jeff. But yeah, I just, my show, it's an internet radio show. It's on every Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern. And I have my YouTube channel, which is where I post all my episodes, interviews like this one. And yeah, Steve, if you're ever in New York, I'd love to have you stop by the studio. It'd be amazing to have you.
Oh man, I just was. I didn't hear about this until I got back. Our premiere was in New York. So.
Right. Oh, you were at the Lansing Square, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Cool. I was there too. Not at the premiere, but the screening the night before. Well, I mean, you know, whenever you're in Long Island, we'd love to have you at the studio. Great.
Cool. Thanks. I'd love to. Yeah. Next time.
Yeah. Steve, this has been so good. Thank you so much for your time, and just keep churning out those scores. Keep making great themes, please.
Thanks. I will try. I will try for you.
Thank you.
Sure. No, thanks a lot. I appreciate everything you're saying. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Yeah,
All right,
take care.
Steve. All right, have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye.
And that's our show, guys. I want to thank everyone who was here today. Erica A., Zach Shevich, my guest critics for today. And I also want to mention that next Sunday is the 1-year anniversary of Under the Radar at Village Connection Network. And I want to thank everyone who's been involved up until this point, including Mr. Jim Savali. Thank you, sir. And we're going to have some surprise guests next week. It'll be a lot of fun. And that's next Sunday. We'll see you then. Thanks, guys.